I'm Jono Buchanan, and in this video we're going to be looking at how we can use the MIDI note editor to make some key musical decisions about our tracks as they develop. In this project I've got two sounds. I've got a synth pluck sound and a bass line that's accompanying it. Before we get started, let's hear how it sounds right now. So it's a promising start, but it's exactly the same twice. It might be quite nice to try and turn this into a 4-bar sequence by creating a sort of unique chord at the end in the last bar. And we can use the piano roll display to make that choice. As you can see, what's happening within the piano roll display is that each of these notes is being displayed next to the note that it's playing. So this note here I can see is a B flat, and this one is a G because it's next to this key, and this one down here is a G as well, the octave below. And the whole way through, as I scroll through, simply using my mouse, the ball on top of the mouse, just to scroll through the project, I can see the notes as they're assigned currently. And it might be quite interesting to change the last chord so that it becomes something a little bit different and we get a more interesting sequence. Now I can do that by pressing T within the toolbar within the piano roll display. What I have a chance to do is to come to the pointer tool, and this allows me to then select notes and move them. Now by default within Logic, if I click on a note, it will play. So I can hear the individual notes within that chord, or if I draw a box around them, I'll hear them all play back together. Okay, now I can turn that off temporarily if I want to be able to talk and change notes as we go at the same time. I can turn off this little button here, which is what's called our MIDI out light. That's the little connection that's connecting the notes to the instrument that's playing them. And by turning that off for just a moment, it means that when I select a note now, it won't play. Now that's a nice way for me to be able to think a little bit about what I might want to do with this chord to make a change to it. I've decided that maybe what I want to do is to create a slightly different chord, which is basically based around the chord of F here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the bottom notes, which is the lowest note within this sequence, and I'm going to select and to see where they're currently selected, or which note they're assigned to, I should say. So as I draw a box around these notes and I select them, I can see that there's little blue lights come on the C to show me that that's the note that's currently playing. And I'm going to drop that down to an F. Now to do that, I can simply click on this note and drag it. I can move it down like this. But I can also use a key command for that. If I hold down Alt and go up or down with my arrow buttons, I have a chance to arrow the notes to the locations that I want them to go to. So here I've selected an F. This note here at the moment is assigned to a G, and what I'm going to do is to move that down to an F as well using that same key command. And this one I'm going to take from being a C, and I'm going to take it down to an A, and I can see that that note is assigned here as well. Let's just solo that and hear what that sounds like. So you can hear that I've changed those individual notes. I want to be able to see all of the notes within this sequence on the screen at the same time. So having selected this window down here, I'm going to press Command and arrow left, and now I can see all of those notes together at once, including the changes that I've made here. So we've just learned that by clicking on an individual note, what I have a chance to do is to move its pitch. And if I lasso several notes together at once, I can move them together at once. Now, I've changed the synth pluck sound, but I haven't changed the bass line on the track underneath it. So at the moment, that's going to sound quite odd when we get to this point, when the bass line is playing the original note and the synth pluck is playing the new note. So what I'm going to do is to click on the sequence underneath, and automatically Logic will update the display below to show me the notes for this sequence rather than the one before it. So it's very easy for me now simply to find those notes. These three are the ones that I want to change, and use my key command of Alt and down to take those notes down to an F. And now both of these instruments will be playing that new chord. That's great. Now, if I also decided that I wanted to add some new notes to this sequence, I could do that as well. Let's come back to our first sequence. We've used the pointer tool to select notes and move them around, but what if we wanted to create notes from scratch? Let's suppose these notes didn't actually exist in this location at all. I can select them all here, and I can use backspace to throw them away. They've gone. So what I might choose to do instead is to actually draw these notes completely from scratch. Again, I can use the pencil tool, which is available within the toolbox, and then what I can decide is where to put them. So having selected the pencil tool, I can then click on any individual note to create a new note. So here's the A that I had before, but I can actually create a slightly more interesting rhythm here by creating a new little sort of fill sequence right at the end. And having created that pattern, what I can very easily do is replicate it for the other notes within the sequence. As I create a new note, again, Logic will highlight the note that I've just played, so I can double check that I'm creating notes in the same or the correct location. And then what I can also do is to create a bass line underneath too. Now I want these to be Fs as well. Let's just lasso these to find out whether or not I've selected the right note, and it turns out that I haven't. This is on a G at the moment, so again I can just use my key command to move them down to the right location. So now I've created these notes from scratch using the pencil tool rather than moving existing ones. And now we get this nice little interaction between the bass line, which is playing the original pattern, and the synth pluck, which is playing the new pattern. So in that video, we've seen that we can use the toolbox to grab the pencil tool to create new notes completely from scratch. And we've also seen how to take existing MIDI information and change its pitch by moving notes around to create new chords.